Today, let's talk about careers in e-commerce and what it takes to reach the top and finally get that VP or head of Amazon role or other senior position, and what comes after that. I saw two great LinkedIn posts last week, one from a current director of e-commerce and one from a e-commerce industry recruiter about navigating this career path that's still being written. I mean, retail media didn't exist, 10, 15 years ago. What are the skills required to get one of these top jobs? And these are skills and experiences that may require a decade or more of various roles and projects. And then once you've finally gotten that VP of ecom role or head of role, what's next? Whether you're at the beginning of your career or already in one of these top positions, it's worth thinking one or two or even more steps ahead, because you generally need a couple of years to put a plan into action. Let's go. Good morning and welcome to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, I bring you candid and real discussions in the world of retail media and marketplaces in just 10 minutes. So bring your own cup of coffee and we'll get smarter about retail media together. Let's start first with the requirements of these senior roles. So this post from Jamie Roller, who's the director of e-commerce at Dr. Squatch, she shared this post on LinkedIn about the challenges of hiring for a head of Amazon position. And so obviously this is quite a new role. I remember writing my book, Amazon for CMOs, with my co-author Mark Power 5 years ago. And the head of Amazon role was something I had seen literally only twice when we wrote that book. And it was one of our predictions that there would be in the future more heads of Amazon. And that kind of seemed a little bit out there at the time. But now we're seeing more and more of this. And Jamie is talking about her conversations with brands trying to fill this role and what the unique challenges are with filling this role with someone who has the right type of experience. Jamie says that the head of Amazon role not only requires operational expertise, but also the ability to influence cross-functional teams and executive leadership. Simply having agency side experience is not enough. Direct Amazon experience is critical. It's a lot to ask, and many candidates simply don't check all the boxes. And this post, of course, inspired lots of comments. One comment I really liked was from Bob Ludeman, recruiter, and he said, strategic plus analytical plus operational plus managing a brand P&L equals exceptionally rare. If you have to acquiesce in one area, the question would be, in which discipline does the org have particular strengths, e.g. analytical, where you can afford time for the individual to learn or upskill. The biggest candidate skills and experience gaps I see in roles like this are proven strategic and operational competency. I thought that was a really helpful framework for evaluating candidates for this head of Amazon role, whether you're the hiring manager and able to identify, what are the areas that our company is really strong in, where we don't necessarily need someone with a ton of experience or a playbook here. And if you're a potential applicant and you recognize, hey, I'm meeting 5 out of 6 criteria here, I could take another 2 years and find a role that fills that gap, or I could find an organization where they're particularly strong in that area and can afford to let me learn on the job a little bit. Now let's talk about what happens when you finally assemble all that background, skills and experience that you need for that head of or VP role. You finally get the promotion or get hired away for it, and you're a VP now. So what next? And this is where Harry Joyner's poll comes in. So he says in this post, think of all the VPs of e-commerce you knew 5 years ago, the ones in your network, whether close personal friends of yours or not. Where are they today? In your mind, once an e-commerce executive reaches the VP rung on the ladder, what's the next rung? And he gives 4 options here and turned it into a poll. The options were to become a consultant or fractional VP of e-commerce, to move into president or C-suite, to start their own business, or to stay at the VP level. So he had 405 votes on this question. So I think it is quite statistically significant, and Harry has a really great engaged audience of e-commerce professionals. So I think this is quite reflective of reality. So I'll tell you the results in order of biggest percentage to smallest. First is VPs moving into president or C-suite roles, with 32% of respondents saying that that was the most common path. Next was consulting or fractional work at 27%. The next most popular move was actually to stay at the VP level, and that was 26%. And finally, only 15% plan to start their own business. So let's unpack the reasons behind these choices. And looking at the comments from people, I think is very illuminating again. So a key theme from Harry's post in the comments was how personal circumstances like family responsibilities and career stability, those actually play a huge role in career decisions. As an example, one commenter, Eric Brandt, who is now the owner of a digital marketing agency, called steady paychecks from your VP job and the benefits from your VP job golden handcuffs, and saying the risks of entrepreneurship are not just individual, but collective. Your family takes them too. And this is a big reason for people not taking the leap into business ownership or even consulting, which can be, fairly lumpy income and unpredictable. For others, people talk about how consulting offers a great balance between freedom and stability. One commenter shared how they transitioned from VP roles to consulting and finding it a joy to be working with smaller businesses. And lastly, the case for staying on as a VP can be very strong too. And I was surprised how common this pathway was and how fruitful it actually can be. A step sideways is not a step backwards, it seems, especially in this area where it's so dynamic and there's so many different stakeholders and functions to develop skills around. So one take that reflects this is from Timothy Peterson, now president at his own digital tech firm. He says, "I think I was a VP of e-commerce 5 times. After that, the world was my oyster. Here's why. Marketing expertise, deep tech knowledge, data analytics and BI, business intelligence, content, warehousing and logistics, product and merchandising, management, leadership, and the confidence and ability to do just about anything else. Since then, I've been an agency president and chief consultant, a chief client officer, a startup CMO and CDO, a fractional COO and CMO, run my own business, and a few other things. If I didn't have all those e-commerce roles, I doubt the rest would have been possible." So that's very illuminating, and I think a really positive take on building what I've heard people refer to as a T-shaped career. You've got expertise across a number of different disciplines, and then you go deeper in one of them. And I think just highlights how these roles and this career is still a story being written. Obviously, in retail media, we are on the precipice of a huge wave. Retail media ad spend is going to double in the next 3 years. It is going to be a huge part of digital advertising. And anyone listening to this podcast already with your foot in the door here, you have a huge advantage in getting ahead of something that is going to be so huge and so commonplace. It has been posited that Amazon's advertising business is even more profitable than AWS. So retail media is incredibly profitable. Its spend is doubling. So if you're leading this division, you are immediately a hero, right? You are bringing in all the money. And so the game here is about internal influence and securing investment in technology from the organization to, continually attract more media dollars and make sure that you've got a competitive offering, and also understanding that advertiser needs, agencies, brands, and being a great B2B marketer. How can you secure more of these media dollars? So I think that this is actually the killer role I think more people in this space should be aspiring to, is the head of a retail media network. As we saw from the career paths of those people in those roles today, You need to check off your agency experience. You need to check off your brand experience. You need to check off digital transformation experience. And then get yourself over to a retailer and work in their retail media network offering. So the takeaway is this: reaching the top in e-commerce is an accomplishment, but the rules are still being written. So I'll leave you with this question. What's your next rung? And are you ready to climb higher, or will you chart a new course? Before we wrap up, I want to refer back to my episode last week about the career trajectories of people who lead the retail media networks at retailers. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out, because this is a fascinating career path and one that I think is a natural way into the C-suite. Well, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Retail Media Breakfast Club. We meet here every day at 6 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to subscribe and get your daily dose of insights, trends, and hot takes in the world of retail media and marketplaces.